And before we get into more of the game, I do want to talk about something around the game that could actually have a big effect on it, and that's the weather down there in Dallas. Now, it's a dome stadium, so the players won't have to deal with it. But the snowstorm that came through here, like I said, we got about 5 inches. Southern Ohio, some places got a foot. There's going to be a snowstorm that's coming through Dallas, and they're calling for possibly 8 to 9 inches of snow in Dallas, Texas. That's something that they are not prepared for. They don't deal with that. They don't deal with winter weather well down there at all.
No, they're not.
So that's
I remember a few years ago, Georgia got 2 inches and they closed everything in the city down.
Yeah, Atlanta freaked out. So we've seen Dallas have to deal with ice storms before, with football games. And now, they had that with the Super Bowl, and now they've got this potentially looming over their heads. And this is something that I think does have the potential to delay the game because it is a big storm, and people in Dallas just don't have the infrastructure to deal with it. Their power grid's, a mess. So are you worried at all that they could delay this game to Saturday because it is scheduled for Friday? Could they delay 24 hours? What do you think?
I'm not so much worried about it. Then I guess annoyed, but hey, these things happen, man. These things happen. I would be annoyed because it's just simply because I have to wait another day. First world problems. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wonder how it would affect the players, because maybe some guys might be ready for that day, and the next day they might not have it. You never know. These are college kids.
Yeah.
So
it certainly would be annoying to have them delay it the extra day. What I'd say is go out there and play it and play the stuff. Go to the actual Cotton Bowl and go play outdoors there. Certainly help Ohio State, but no. I'm hoping they don't delay the game. They've got enough warning at this point where they might be able to get some
prepare.
Yeah, exactly. Prepare. Maybe get some other snowplows and trucks out there from other states, maybe to help.
And there's enough trucks in Texas to do it. There's enough trucks in Texas to get put a plow in front and get rid of the snow.
Yeah, but I mean, they also got to get some salt trucks down there too, because they just don't salt. So those are the kind of trucks I'm most worried about. But we'll see what happens. That's still 5 days from now or 4 days from now. It's on Friday, so we got a little bit of time. And my guess is they would announce something like that if it's going to be delayed, probably by Wednesday. I don't think they would leave it to the last minute until Thursday. So we would know later this week. I'd probably say 48 hours. Whether or not that would happen. So besides the weather, that could possibly delay this. I don't know how much film you've watched of Texas since we last talked on Thursday, but I sat down and I rewatched the game against Arizona State, and I rewatched the game against Clemson.
Okay.
Because I think those are the two most relevant data points for this game. And what I saw was a team that defensively is still kind of a mess. I didn't expect just some of the stuff that, for how good Texas's defensive line is supposed to be, and that's what we've heard all season. They kind of give me Tennessee and Oregon vibes, where it's like, okay, yeah, these defensive lines are good against inferior teams that aren't like Ohio State. And it kind of reinforced my feeling that Ohio State's going to be able to put up points, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to stop them. I mean, what do you think? Have you watched any more film?
Yeah, so I watched the Arizona State game again. I like that, just the highlights from it. Watched the full first half of the second half of the Clemson game, Georgia game, and the Vanderbilt game. I'm a little confused by Texas, because if I go through their schedule, you've played nobody. That at least you've beaten nobody.
Yeah, they're having good wins.
Yeah, and then if I look at your two biggest wins your two biggest games before the playoffs, you have Georgia the first time they step over you, and then the second time you lose when they have their backup quarterback in. And And then when it comes to the playoffs, this is how what I've mostly gotten from them. And it's not to say that they don't play good defense. I think the defense is pretty good. I don't believe they played an offense that is as explosive as what Ohio State's seen. I think Oregon is more explosive than every other offense that Texas has played this season. And Penn State is probably a close second or third compared to whatever they've seen this season. Their offense is very good when it's on script. Basically like in the first half, which like it's very good. In the second half, they fall off, and they also do defensively. I asked a few Texas fans this in a space. I said, "Do you think that Sarkisian trusts Quinn Ewers?" And they told me yes. I said, "I don't think he does."
I don't think he does either. I mean, some of his throws, like he just doesn't. You know, coming out of high school, all we heard about was how strong this kid's arm is, and it's not that strong.
I wouldn't call it strong, but it looks pretty leaving his hand.
And that's the reason why it's not strong anymore.
Yeah, he
they did some mechanical work on him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, they changed his mechanics because apparently, you know, they say he had a stronger arm before, but then they made some mechanical changes so he wouldn't get the ball, I guess, batted down as easily, I guess. Yeah. And now it doesn't come out with the same strength, which I think is a problem.
No, and it is. And I think against a team like Ohio State with the secondary they have, you need to have a strong arm. The running game, I don't really fear it. No. I believe there are two very talented running backs, Blue and Blue. I can't remember the other running backs team right now.
Yeah, well,
I just the receivers. I don't think there's anything really special outside of Helm.
Isaiah Bond worries me a bit.
We've seen better receivers than Isaiah Bond. I just I don't believe Texas is the best team Ohio State has played. Or I'm sorry, not the best offense Ohio State has played.
I agree with the offense. I mean, Quintervian Wisner is the other running back you were trying to think of.
Yes, Wisner.
He's got over 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns. But Bond worries me a little bit, but Golden is the guy they're going to have to defend. He's got almost 1,000 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns. He averages 16.7 yards a catch. So but again, it's a little bit like Oregon on offense. If you shut down the guys who can beat them, they don't have anybody else who can really step up and do something with it. Right. So and I know we talked about this before. If they don't actually trust Quinn to diagnose the defense, make the throws that he needs to make in order to deal with an Ohio State zone, which I can see them sitting in zone a decent amount, kind of like how they did against Oregon, and force him to make reads. I could see Sark deciding to put Arch in.
Yeah,
and I think I think Ryan Day is preparing for that a little bit. I think he's told Knowles, hey, this could happen. Let's make sure we got a game plan for this exact scenario because he's obviously more mobile. He can scramble, and they can use him on design runs too. So I do think I would not put it past them to do that. All of a sudden the first half's not going their way, or even the first quarter, because we've seen these couple games, things can get out of hand quickly if you're not right with Ohio State. So yeah. I could see them pulling the quarterback soon. And that, to be honest, I'm still not sure how much that would matter. I just, more film I watch, just the more overwhelming feeling I get that this Ohio State team is just flat out better. I mean,
they are. Ryan, they are. And do I think I picked this game, I guess, a single score game. I have something around 30 to 23 or something like that, because I think Texas defense is good enough to not let what happened, or to not let what Oregon let happen, or Tennessee. But for all the love that Ohio State's offense has been getting, for Will Howard to Jeremiah Smith to Travion and Mecca, all of those guys, the question I think is, how does Texas score on Ohio State's defense the way it's playing right now? And for Texas, though I think they have a good offensive line, they've lost 2 guys on there. I don't know if their receivers are. I don't know. I just don't. And is that because I don't think we're gonna blow Texas out. I don't see how they score enough points. Like I was listening to who was I listening to? I'll think of it later. But they're talking. They asked him, how many points do you think Texas needs to score in this game? And his response to him was 38. And he says, "Oh, then Texas is losing because they're not scoring 38 points in Ohio State."
That's right.
If you believe Texas needs 38 points to win this game,
that's the thing is I do believe that. And if you look at their defensive performances, all season long, so the whole regular season, the most points that Texas gave up was 24 points to Vanderbilt. And they won that game by 3. It was at Vanderbilt. That was when Vanderbilt was having a little bit of a run, and then they fell off a cliff.
Right.
The last 2 games, they've given up 24 and 31. And I understand, 31, that was in overtime. So, 7 of those points came in overtime. But even if you allow 24, I don't think you're going to beat Ohio State because I don't think you're scoring 24 on their defense.
No.
That's the thing is Ohio State has allowed 17 points and 21 points in the last 2 games. And both of those were because of late touchdowns. Let's be frank. The score could have been worse if they decided to keep their foot on the pedal. And this, I just don't see the way that Texas plays offense, how they're going to be able to attack Ohio State's defense. Now, maybe the defensive line, the last 2 games has been the best Ohio State's defensive line has played all year.
Yeah.
Maybe all of a sudden they stop playing that well. Maybe Texas's offensive line's able to, Texas offensive line's good. I wouldn't say they're great, but they're good. What if all of a sudden they just stop being able to get pressure up front because of their offensive line just starts, blocking really well. Then at that point, maybe they can move the ball a little bit because of how well the front 4 has been playing, they've been afforded to be able to sit back and kind of have a spy there and also send out blitzes with Cody Simon, Sonny Styles, and other because their back seven's or their secondary's been playing so good. So I don't know. I just don't see how it's possible for them.
No, I agree. And there's also this for me. What does so I hear a lot of people say, well, why don't they go do the Michigan thing, right? Run the ball, try and hammer it up there. But Texas hasn't been able to do that. And then they talk about, well, run Michigan's defensive scheme also. And I think here's something that a lot of people don't understand. What Michigan does in their defense, like in a variation of the 3-4, it's very intricate to them. Like it's very different to what everyone else in college football runs. Excuse me. A team is not going to be able to do the same scheme that Michigan does and learn that in a week or even a few weeks. Texas plays a lot of man-to-man like the rest of the SEC does.
Yep.
And though the point of the 3-4 defense is to blitz from different angles and to get to the quarterback. But Ohio State's not the type of team that you do that to, because if you do that, they're putting Emeka Egbuka they have him in the middle, or they're putting Jeremiah at the slot. They're running a right across the quarterback's face for free release.
Yep.
No, because you're not staying with them right there. You're not. And once you do that, and what your defense is built to do, which is get to the quarterback and blitz, when you got to stop doing that, you got to run zone out of that, and you have bigger gaps between your defensive linemen. That's when Ohio State is going to hit you with a run.
Yep. And Ohio State, what they've done really well in the last couple of games is they've been able to move Jeremiah Smith around the formations. They have not kept him just out wide or on the right side. They have moved him all over the place. They've moved him in the slot. They've moved him close to the line of scrimmage. And that's helped scheme open some easy throws for Howard to him. I mean, that first play against Oregon, he was closer to the line of scrimmage, and he just he runs, maybe 3-4 yards ahead of the line of scrimmage, catches the ball, and he just does the rest because he was wide open. And that's
Yeah.
all you need to do with someone like that. You get the ball in his hands, and he can take care of the rest. So Chip's been in his bag recently, and I expect him to continue that here, against Texas.
Mhm.
I just, I keep coming back to my 35-17 prediction, and I might have to
Wait, that's what you
tweak it.
have right now?
That's what I had. Yeah. And
Okay, well, I mean,
I might
that
need
wouldn't
to
be
add
surprising. That wouldn't be surprising.
a larger margin of victory. And look, I came into this I came into the playoff. Actually, no. Let me rephrase. I came into the SEC championship thinking that Texas was the best team in the SEC, and I thought that they were probably top 2, top 3 team in the country. Like I thought they were really good.
Mhm.
Last couple games, I just haven't seen it. And I understand they won those games, but they beat Clemson. They got home field advantage in that game, and they beat Arizona State, but they blew a 16-point lead. And quite frankly, if they don't get bailed out with a 4th and 13, fourth down, overtime touchdown pass, they're sitting at
Mhm.
home and we're playing Sparty,
For
Sparky.
sure, for
So
sure.
I just don't see how Texas is going to be able to all of a sudden flip that switch.
Yeah,